Hello there, I'm Vince Applegrove, otherwise known as Big Alias, or definitely not Vince Applegrove, and this is a video game called Fallout 76, and you probably heard of it on the internet. It's probably right next to a big fat zero from a critic or something like that. But I do want to talk about this game in a slightly different fashion to the way that I usually talk about games. Firstly, I want to open up by talking about this franchise as a whole for me. I got this game because I was not going to touch this game because I don't... By the way, if you're looking for a positive review of this game, do not look here. Look somewhere else. So I got this. I was never going to get this game because I disagree with the whole notion of having a multiplayer only game when it's supposed to be single player, stuff like that. There's a lot that I'm going to talk about in this video that I don't like about this game. I've also recently become a huge fan of the franchise, but I only got it because I got it on Black Friday. I upgraded to an Xbox One X, and it's gorgeous. It's so beautiful. It's my baby girl. No, it's creepy. If I had a name for it, it would be Fleetwood Facemonger. So I got an Xbox One X, and it came with a copy of Fallout 76, of which I was just going to take straight out of the bag and return immediately and go, hey, thanks, you can have this back. Just give me anything for it. But it was a download code, so not much I could do about that. I thought I might as well enter it and, have a look around, and then I can report back on the game properly, having played it. And I have to say that my opinion is slightly different to what I thought it would be. I recently got into the franchise in that because everyone was talking about 76. I thought, you know what, Fallout has always been one of those series that I've always wanted to like, and I just never sort of did. When I first heard about it, sort of when I first got my 360 was around about 2010. I didn't really have a grasp of like first-person shooter RPGs, and I thought it would just be a sort of Halo thing, and I was very into Halo and the armor suits where, like, where do you piss in an armor suit? But who knows? Anyway, I was into that sort of thing, and so when I went to get Fallout 3, I just didn't get it. And then I played New Vegas, and I thought it was okay. And I played 4, and I really didn't like it. I found it very boring when it first came out. Subsequently, recently, I came back and I played 3, and I goddamn loved it. It was a phenomenal game. I don't know what it is, but it was tremendous. I love the world. I loved exploring. And you'll notice in this gameplay that I really don't sprint very often. And that's because I've just come off of beating 3. And one of my favorite things about 3 is that you can't sprint. So you have to take in the world around you. You have to look around. And yes, you can fast travel, which is great, but when you are just looking around, you do take everything in around you because you can't just sprint through it. And that's I think that's one of the things that kind of ties into what I want to talk about today, where, like, I know that people get very nostalgic about gaming, but I do think that there's something to be said for some of the old tropes and some of the new things that we've brought into games nowadays that sort of have spoiled a lot of the feelings that we used to get with games. And I think being able to just sprint through things definitely affects the way that you experience the game. I mean, you look at Halo, and that world was so beautiful and so inviting, and you really did take it all in because you weren't allowed to just sprint through it. And I think in things like 4 and 5, I just kind of pounded through these worlds and I didn't get to take it all in, which is why, as you'll see in this game, I don't really sprint too often. Also, the fact that sprinting is tied to AP, which is tied to the VAT system, which is a neat way of segueing straight into this game. Yeah, I don't like the VAT system. I think the VAT system is atrocious. It's awful. It's like people say it's like was it aim lock or auto aim? Not really. It's just terrible. It's just atrocious. Auto aim helps you aim on people. And it can be used in a good way, play Red Dead Redemption 1 or something like that, and it's great. This isn't that. You can shoot from the side, you can shoot from almost behind you. It really doesn't work very well at all. And there are a lot of things about this game that aren't good, and I want to use examples for that. This is the epitome of what I don't like about this game. You open up the game, the first thing that happened was I tried to load it and it crashed. I then rebooted it, I loaded it back up again. You then get a cutscene all about the importance of people, about how important people are to the world, and each cog has its place, and it's this like nice slick cutscene. It's all in slow motion, and there's voiceover, and it's like, yeah, or people, and they're so important.
This sprawling underground shelter may have been engineered by Vault Tech, but it was built by you, the good people of America, so that if the bombs do come, if the end does come, our way of life will endure.
And then they tell you you're in this world where all of those people are gone. People are so important, but this world has none of them. And it's just, I don't get it. I don't even understand. Sorry, I hit my mic then. I don't even understand what the mindset behind that is. Hey, people are so important, and they're gone.
This sprawling underground shelter may have been engineered by Vault-Tec, but it was built by you, the good people of America, so that if the bombs do come, if the end does come, our way of life will endure.
So there's none of that. You then create your character, which actually looks pretty good. The graphics seem a lot better in the character creation screen. Here's me. Oh, by the way, VATS didn't work for me here, and I thought it was because the game was broken. Turns out it's because I was ill. Not translated to you in the game whatsoever. Nobody tells you that when you're ill, you can't use VATS. Anyway, and it made the game a lot more of a struggle. If I knew that, I would have fought the disease off and found something for it. I didn't know because it wasn't communicated to me. So then you're thrown into this character creation screen where it actually looks pretty good, and it is quite in depth. You then spawn. You're in a little room, surrounded by things, by bottles, by clipboards, by books, things that are synonymous with Fallout, with, you know, things that made Fallout great, to picking up things and deciding which one you want, and inventory management and stuff like that, and things I loved about 3. My favorite thing about 3 was the exploration of the environment and things like that, but I did love things like that, you know, searching, scavenging, it's great. You can't pick any of it up. They don't let you pick a single thing up. It's just there. You just walk around and have a look. You can turn the radio on, but you can't pick up anything around you. Now, they do give you the chance to later on in the game, as you're seeing here. But when you open up by saying, hey, here's all of this shit that was important to you, fuck it. That is the exact... That's the epitome of this game. It's a game where it's like a stripper. This game is, I'm trying to articulate things as I go along, but it's like a stripper, right? Where everything around you seems interesting, it seems intriguing. The best thing that this game does is exploration. The exploration in this game is actually fantastic. The world is extremely interesting, despite the fact that it looks like a fucking 360 game, and I'm running it in 4K. It looks like, it's seriously, the textures look like a 360 game, but the art design is actually very interesting. I managed to get some good photos. My favorite thing to do in this game is just to walk around, explore, and capture images. But despite it being a very interesting world, it's the fact that it's so interesting is like a tease. Earlier, just after I captured this gameplay footage, I went up to the top of a mountain and I found a badass, awesome place where it was a plane crash, and there were skeletons sitting in these seats, and there was a person hanged at the edge of the cliffside, and there was like a campsite, and they were cooking meat and stuff like that. And the whole time I'm looking around, I'm thinking, wow, I wonder what happened here. It looks like there was real disarray, like the plane crash, and there was a kind of lost scenario where everyone's dog eat dog, you know, and everyone's out to get each other, and it's all just like, and then obviously someone went crazy and into disarray, and they had to beat them or hang them or whatever because they're hanged on the edge of the mountain edge. This is awesome. I wish they had told this story in the game, but they didn't. And as you can see here, everything is told through terminals. Everything is told through holotapes and terminals. I'm just skipping through it. I don't want to sit there and read everything. I don't want to mute everything around me in my life and make sure that everything is quiet so I can listen to a holotape. I want something. At every turn, there's something interesting here, and they just completely are unable to flesh it out because there are no NPCs. For anyone who doesn't know, there are no non-playable characters, no NPCs, no quest givers or anything like that. Everything that interacts with you in this game is a computer terminal or a holotape, so it's not really interacting with you, or a robot that's walking around. That is the worst decision I have ever seen in a video game, because it makes this interesting world feel completely unfleshed out. It feels, and I know unfleshed out isn't a word, it feels like a tease. It feels like everything should be interesting, but it isn't. And there are other issues that come with there not being an NPC. NPCs, for example, I'm going to try to go through as quickly. Yesterday, I was going through a mine. I was shooting people, taking out the scorched. But because there was no narrative influence to me being in the mine, because there are no NPCs, no one to protect, nowhere to go or anything like that, and I was in there exploring, the soundtrack didn't kick in. Now, the soundtrack, by the way, is the best part, is the second best part of this game next to the exploration, which is actually quite cool, because the soundtrack is gorgeous, is beautiful, but it was unable to kick in because there was no reason for it, no purpose for it, and it just feels like a huge missed opportunity. I've become a huge fan of Fallout. I loved 3, and New Vegas I'm going to go back to, and 4 I'm going to go back to and try to enjoy. But this not having NPCs was the biggest misstep. And this is one of the things I hate the most about gaming in 2018, is this notion that, oh, no, the publisher knows best, and that you want to create your own fun, and that everybody games with their friends. I know that, the biggest game in the world right now is a game that's quote-unquote more fun with friends, which, I mean, what isn't more fun with friends? An orgy's more fun with friends. I know that. And I know that these publishers will, they'll take all of these algorithms and tell Bethesda to make a game that fits these algorithms of, no, they have to be able to make their own fun now. No, we can't put effort into a narrative. And then Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out and has the biggest launch in the history of mankind, and it has an incredible narrative and a beautifully developed character set and all of this. But it just seems very of the time, and I don't blame Bethesda per se. I blame the higher ups who just use these algorithms and just take bits from other games that are popular, and it's just blind. It's blind. We're all crying out as a community for a game with a strong narrative, with a brilliant story, and we've proven that we'll put our money into that. This game is already reduced, cut, and I can't recommend it. I haven't bumped into a critic who could recommend it on the internet, because it's a fuck up. And I think really these publishers need to stop being so heavy-handed, let the developers do what they do, and that's that.